Welcome to Reunite with Self Podcast. I'm your host, Ruken. Here, we will be discovering and unraveling what is truly holding you back. We will put the puzzle together and give you clarity on how and what you can do to create massive shifts in your life so you start creating the life you always envisioned for yourself. No more waiting. Whether it is liberating from dysfunctional family patterns or parenting tools and tips that actually make the difference, we will be diving into the truth and core of things that are simple and yet which no one talks about. I will be sharing with you all the things that would have changed my life massively if I heard any one of these episodes. A new world is awakening, and true bliss, harmony, and peace is possible on this earth, and my mission is to bring you closer to that one step at a time. In this safe space, I will hold your hand and give you courage and certainty that you can shift anything and everything in your life. It is time we break the pattern. Whether you want to be the parent you never had or make a shift in your life so you don't play small any longer, you will find the support and guidance in this space. My intention is for you to find your own answers within yourself while you listen to this podcast, so you feel the bliss of reuniting with your true essence, with self, with so much love and compassion and courage. From my heart to yours, let's keep it rocking. My gorgeous listener, welcome to another episode on Reunite with Self Podcast. I'm your host, Ruken. Thank you so much for being here. First of all, I would like to apologize. I apologize deeply for missing the episode last week. I'm fully aware of it. This is not something that I usually do or would normally do, as you may well know. The reason is you might be following me on Instagram, so you might be seeing me announcing some of the major changes that I am going through currently with my brand, with my fashion brand. But also, honestly, just to be transparent, May and June had been very transformational for me. Not that like big major things were happening to me, which some were, yes, some challenging things were happening, but also maybe like 6-7 major decisions and changes were waiting for me and still are. Some of them, I'm going through all of them. And there was like a lot of wait times, delays, more than I predicted. And also just big things that I had to attend that are, I can't call them life-changing really, but they're like major things in my life. And one is I just announced on Instagram I am moving my company from USA to Brazil, because who knew that I always thought that I would live in USA. I am originally from Turkey, as you know, and I always thought that I would live in USA. I knew that I was not going to live in Turkey. So this is why I established my company in the USA, and I was operating my brand from there. But around, I say, like February or March, I don't remember the exact date right now, but I have it noted. I'll tell you the whole story, by the way. Like, I will be telling you more of my story, like the story itself. Like, there are so many stories. My story, I think, in a couple of months more clearly, because the reason that I was not so open about my story yet, because I was still going through a lot of things, but that did not stop me from opening this, like starting this podcast. That did not stop me from that. Although I was still going through a lot of transition in my life. I was still making a lot of like changes and decisions and transformations. I had to start the podcast, and I know that I have served people doing this in Turkish and in English. I have another podcast in Turkish as well. And it's just like a reminder for you. You don't have to be fully ready to start something. You can still manage. Like I was still referencing things from my life, but maybe I was not telling the whole story of like what was happening in my life. So basically, I'm from Turkey and I moved to Brazil 2 years ago. And in these past 2 years, I massively changed my life, like fully transformation. And I talk a lot about that on the podcast, but like the exact stories of what I've been doing, which I will share with you, which I will start sharing with you in a couple of months, because I was still going through a lot of transformation. And I did not know, like I didn't even think when I was moving to Brazil that I would move my company to Brazil. I have another company in Brazil now. I'm doing short-term rental. I'm managing my property, and I'm doing these two podcasts. And there are other things that are in the works that I want to do. And I just took one step at a time. I wasn't thinking like what's going to happen with my brand. I established the company in the USA. I am giving up on my American dream. And I have found my land. Like Brazil is the land that I will create lots of abundance. I can just feel it, see it, and witness it. And I know that I have to do everything from here. And there was a lot of disconnection with my products and with my services, like everything I was doing through my brand, because everything is so far away. So I made this big, bold decision months ago, and I have been working tirelessly on it. Not that it was like a lot of work for me, but it was a lot of things that are out of my control. So a lot of delays, a lot of waits, but just like it's a time that I will talk about, which I'm going through right now, because it's not just that, but a lot of big things that are happening. So that's why I had been a little like busy. Also, I was traveling a lot, like a lot of things, which I will share with you shortly in a couple of months with stories, because stories are what connect us. And I think I get really inspired by hearing other people's stories. So I will be more clear and transparent about my story. But I'm always transparent with you about my opinion, always. And what really changes my life, I share with you the core stuff that I did, that I applied in my life. So before we get into this, in today's episode, I would just like to remind you 3 things that will really help the podcast. If you can stop the episode now and do it as well, because we always forget after listening the episode, because we have to run out, we have to do something. If you could just stop the episode now and go to the show page, if you're listening on Apple Podcast or Spotify, or wherever you are. I don't know how the other works, but if you can tap the plus sign or follow sign so you can follow or subscribe to the podcast, it would help the podcast a lot. And also, if you can give us a 5-star rating and leave us a review, it would mean so much to me. So I can reach more highly sensitive, compassionate, empathetic souls that really need these messages and would be supported by the podcast. So let's get into today's episode. I was planning on doing today's episode in just one episode, but I realized I want to do them in 2 because, as you know, we are doing the mother wound in like a mini series of 4, but I will do a 5th one. So I don't know how I'm going to name that, because I started with like first of 4, second, third, and this is going to be the 4th one, but I will add a 5th one because we started with the first episode on mother wound is bigger than we think. And then on the second one, we discussed and talked about like the ways in which the narcissistic mother controls, limits, manipulates their child, their adult child. And then the third one was how unsupportive mother creates terrible consequences because she's not accountable either. So this third one was like the unsupportive mother being if the father is a narcissist, or if your siblings is a narcissist, and the mother maybe is not narcissistic tendency, but she had always been unsupportive in ways that she was not able to, create clarity for you. There's narcissism here. Don't listen to this. This is not the truth. Blah, blah, blah. They were serving the narcissism themselves and were asking you to do the same in some ways, some hidden ways, some subtitle ways. And so we discussed that. And the fourth one, like today's episode, is, so if all of this happened, you're creating the clarity now. When you create the clarity, there is no way that you stay the same. Your life will never be the same if you create the clarity. That's why I always know and say that creating the clarity is the first and the most important step in creating your incredible life. The most important step is creating the clarity, like truthfully and honestly. Because once you see what something has caused you and what you could have gotten if you didn't accommodate it, or minimize your feelings, or minimize other people's behavior, what you could have gotten in your path so far, then everything changes. Like nothing will ever be the same again. You cannot then know this and still minimize stuff. I mean, there is always like small tendencies, moments, instances. I'm not talking about like moments and instances. It's a journey. We are healing, we're growing, we are evolving. There are new things that happen that, that pull the rug under our feet or just surprise us or shock us or whatever. But nothing is ever the same again. You don't fall down that deep. You don't stay down that deep for that long. You act quickly, you act differently, you start thinking differently. You don't stay there for so long, and so it doesn't dictate your life. Just as an example. So once you start creating the clarity, your life will never be the same way ever again. So if you listen to this podcast and if it creates some kind of clarity for you, for your past and for your like current day of what's happening in dynamics in your relationship with your family and also like in your other relationships as well, even that by itself is huge. It's huge. So even if you just, what we spoke about, even if you create the clarity for yourself, that is amazing. I just realized I'm screaming to the microphone. I'm sorry. But in this episode, I wanted to talk about like what are the best ways and musts to heal, recuperate, self-glow, and shine, or whatever you want to call it, but to start creating your freaking incredible life. And I was going to talk about both mother types, but it maybe it's going to be 2 hours long. Nobody's going to listen to that. So I am going to make it 2 separate episodes. So today we're going to talk about the narcissistic mother. In that situation, what are the best ways and the musts for you to heal, recuperate, start your incredible life, start creating your incredible life, and start the change. So let's get into it. By the way, my doors and windows are all open today because it's winter in Brazil, but winter here is like summer, but it's not that hot. So I can actually open the doors while I'm working. So, I mean, I usually do that anyways, but I didn't want to turn on the AC, and I hope you don't hear anything. I hear the birds, but I don't think you're catching on the noises outside with the mic. So, my gorgeous listeners, so if you have a mother who has narcissistic behavior, narcissistic tendency, and even maybe narcissistic personality disorder, first of all, I want to send you lots of love and compassion from my heart to yours. I want to begin by saying how you can heal and start creating your life is first, because this is the thing that stops people from starting the change, is first you knowing, like put your hand on your heart and take a deep breath in and out, knowing and acknowledging that working with the mother wound is the most challenging, is maybe, there is no need for maybe. It is the most challenging wound to work with, to experience and to work with. So acknowledging this creates the space for you to just keep on moving with whatever you need to do instead of self-sabotage or do anything avoidant. Because I want you to be compassionate with yourself. You are not the only person who has a mother who has narcissistic tendency. You are not the only person working with a mother wound. Like I talked about, and especially in the mini-series, in the first episode of the series too, that I realized that although I thought people had more father wound, I realized that mother wound is massive. And it doesn't only entail mothers with narcissistic tendency themselves, but even if the father has the narcissistic tendency, the mother had been very unsupportive and even maybe the most difficult part of the situation for lots of people. So the questions I get, the comments I get for both of the episodes, I am learning, hearing from you. I did not know mother wound was this massive. And I know working with the mother wound is the most challenging, because mother is home, where we come from, who we relate to the most, and who we might have the enmeshed relationship as if we are one. We are not. We're not their arms, we're not their legs, but we might have that tendency, and still seeing this with compassion from earlier days. So I think I just wanted to begin with this. I'm going to go through different things now, but just before we begin, whenever you are challenged, remember that this is not easy. That's why you are challenged. Not because you are doing something wrong, not that you are wrong, not that you are thinking of something wrong, not that your idea or your decisions are wrong, not that you're bad or anything either, of course. Just put your hand on your heart, like take a deep breath while I'm talking, and know that working with the mother wound is the most challenging. But the ones who can work through it, I think, are the people that will be the medicine to this world, that will be the people that will just, embody the true love on this earth. Because minimizing it or ignoring it is not going to make anything better. And also, it's not going to help you self-actualize. And it's not going to break the pattern. It's not going to serve any light. So whenever you are challenged, this is something to remember. Like, I am challenged. I am feeling sad, I'm feeling helpless, I'm feeling angry and frustrated, I'm feeling hopeless, like whatever you are going through in that moment. Call the emotions, like acknowledge the emotions, be aware of them, put your hand on your heart, and maybe you're going through, you are making a decision in that moment to create a healthy boundary, to create a very healthy boundary. And you have to keep up with it. You have to stick to your boundaries. And it is not easy, not because you are doing something wrong, because this is the most challenging. And the narcissistic mother knows this. That's why they do everything they do. I always think that, like, when I think about like truly narcissistic people around me, like let's say about women, narcissistic women that I know, like young women, like when I imagine them having a baby, I just feel like crying. It's so easy to manipulate a child by looking as if you really love them, you're really looking out for them, like you're a great mother, you're even like sacrificing yourself, you're like as if your priority is your child so much, as if you're like sacrificing even yourself or your life, like what a great mother you are, or how involved you are with your child, how loving you are. Like it can look as if like that to someone who looks from the surface, not to an empathetic person who can like see deeply into people's emotions or into babies, but just any surface person, or to society, or people around you in your circle, to most of them. It is very easy to manipulate a child. And one of my closest friends, she was telling me she became a mother a couple of years ago. I think her child is now 4 or 5. And she tells me, like, Ruken, just being a mom, it's very powerful, and you understand, but she's like very highly sensitive, super compassionate, like one of the most wonderful, beautiful people that I know. And because she's so honest during her own, like her whole journey, which usually mothers are not that honest in my experience. Not all of them are honest with the whole journey, like the pregnancy, like everything, it's because they usually talk about like their own sacrifices, but not that, how like precious it is, how like the whole thing, not like a part of it that you want to. And she tells me like how powerful this is, Ruken. Like being a mother just gives you so much control over a human being that you can manipulate their belief systems about anything, not just even about themselves, like for the world, for things, people, whatever. And she sees this and she says it, but not every mom does. So if you might be a mother or not every mother acknowledges this. So when you are aware of this, if you have a child, it may be easier for you to, it may be easy but also challenging, but it may be easier for you to see the experience of being a child and how vulnerable they are and how easy it is to manipulate a child in the most subtle ways. And you don't have to do big things. You don't have to do like quote unquote abusive things that society calls as abusive, like nothing like that. On like the opposite, it can actually look as if you are being a martyr, like you're sacrificing yourself, like that's your priority, like you have given up on all these things for your child. But the person can be still super controlling, manipulative, and all the toxic things. So we have to understand this is something I truly believe in, but sometimes the things I want to say, I feel just intimidated to say them, but I know that I shouldn't, but just hearing it from someone else just, makes it easier for me to say it myself. Being a mother is not sacred. Being a father is not sacred. Being a family is not sacred. We can only make them sacred if we want to, if we live in that way. But I think being human is sacred. And potentiality of all those experiences, yes, they can be truly beautiful and sacred and just true and, in a true, real way, not in a perfect way. I don't believe in perfect. I don't believe in not making mistakes, not hurting each other. I don't believe in that stuff, as you know. No, that's actually very, very toxic. That is not what a sacred family is or any of that. What I mean is that if we can understand all this stuff is to sabotage us, as if just because someone is a mother, they have to be sacred, or that role of them is just sacred and there is nothing to say about it if they are not abusive that society calls. So if they are not physically, I don't want to even give examples of that. It doesn't have to be because everything can be extreme. So I don't want to give examples, but your story is your story. Your feelings are real. Your emotions were always real, although she may not have validated them for you. So we have to understand, if we want to make it family sacred, or being a mom or dad, we have to change the way that we relate to the family members, and that we change our lives no matter what. We start creating our incredible lives. We start creating, we start self-actualizing no matter what's happening around us in our family, no matter what they're saying, what they're doing. We just start that path so that it benefits the whole. It benefits everyone. We got so many gifts to help others and support others, and those people really need us. So we have to, it's a must, it's a responsibility for us to self-actualize. And we have to make it after creating the clarity and after doing all the things that we're going to talk about today, let's say start creating healthy boundaries. Once you start seeing the fruits of it, once you start feeling differently about your life, you will never be able to go back to it. And then you will understand they all happened for you. We have to make it the wind to our sailboat, I always say, as if it made you who you are today. You are the woman you are the man you are because of what happened. And you would not be this woman or this man doing whatever, serving other people, doing whatever you are doing now, if those things did not happen. You would not have the drive. I would not be able to talk in this podcast and scream to the microphone in a passionate way if I did not go through what I went through, and the things that I still go through, and the things that I would still be going through if I just let anyone in my family, relative circle dictate what I should do about my life in subtitles, not directly. I wouldn't create this podcast. I wouldn't be able to really understand this, underlying narcissism, this subtitle narcissistic tendencies, how it massively affects someone if they don't create the clarity. I wouldn't really understand the importance of the things that I share with you here. So it all happened for you. And you will see why. Maybe you are already feeling in your heart, but you will see exactly why on the other side of it, and you will feel grateful and maybe even blessed that they all happened for you. But I know this, you will once you are on the other side of it, not that you have created your incredible life, you are creating your incredible life. That's what I mean on the other side. Once you are on the other side, so you are not letting those things dictate you today. Okay? You are not changing the past. You are not letting it dictate you any freaking way today. You will think, this is my belief, you will believe, like you will think that you actually would not want to change anything from your past or those people. You don't want them to change. You actually want them to stay the same. That's fine. That's not your goal. Like changing them or for them to change or for them to give you what they haven't given you is not important for you because you are already progressing and you are parenting yourself and you are giving that love to yourself and you are creating that clarity today. So it becomes a part of your story, a part of it, not yours, like not the whole story. So you actually don't resist that because you are not letting it dictate you today. This is the most important part. We can't change the past, but we have to be very careful about what's happening today. This is the most important part. All right, never mind. I turned on the AC because it became hot. So let's get into this 30-minute intro. So now I'm glad because we went through a lot. I want to support you the best way that I can. So, okay. So if you have a mother or if you had a mother or someone that raised you as a mom, as a female figure who had narcissistic tendency, narcissistic behavior, or maybe had narcissistic personality disorder. So first thing, number one, don't let her hyper focus on info dictate your life or manipulate you in any way. Life is not just about information on, where we went, what we did, what job we have, how much money we're making, who we are seeing, what time we did this or that. Life is not just about this. Relationships and conversations are not just about this. Human being is an emotional being. And what I mean by all of this is, as you know, we talked about in the episode for the narcissistic mother, she's like hyper focused on information. She wants to know the information about all of this about you all the time. And she actually uses this with subtle comments, subtle, innocently looking questions to trigger the past wounds that she has created in you, which maybe most of them you don't even honestly remember consciously, but they are all in your subconscious. They all are there. So it's just these subtle things that she does with the information you've given her to trigger something in you so you feel less energized. You just lose the energy in that moment. And that's what affects your actions in the next days and the projection of your life. So don't let her hyper focus on information dictate your life or manipulate you in any way. What do I mean by that? A lot of things, but the most important, the non-negotiable is that don't share information with her and do it whichever way is the best in your situation, in your story. You know your story, you know your mom, you know your past, the every little detail that happened in your past, the every little detail of your relationship, the dynamic, like the subtle, the nuances, everything. You know that. You know what will trigger her and what won't even get her attention that much. You know what will make her think that you are the gray rock. Like she shouldn't maybe, okay, this is a maybe by the way, that you do things in a way that you know she will think she shouldn't be worried that you're going to do great. Not that you're like, I'm not even saying that anything is bad, anything good about you, that she's not worried about that. Her narcissistic side, whatever you want to call it. But I believe there is this like energy of narcissism. So that psyche should not pick up on things. And even if it does, sometimes you do that, like you don't share the information and it's obvious you're not sharing information, but she knows that this time it's different. Like you've changed your mind completely. You are doing this. It's like almost life and death for you. So she's not going to bother you, not to lose you either. Like depending on your story, you know your story. You know the best way to implement this. Whether to play the gray rock, maybe whether to be like more like the Queen of Swords energy in tarot. Like there is no bullshitting me anymore. Like I'm done. And you're not even saying that to her face, but your behavior is different. Maybe she will lose you if she does something. You are more stern this time. You are more decisive this time. You are doing some things differently, but you are not sharing with them. You have this boundary with them, like physical boundary with them. Or maybe you are doing it in a different way, in a completely different way that I'm not mentioning here. Because every story it's like if I want to do like different workshops with you. So we create circles and work together. So I can look at your face, even if it's on Zoom, but I can see your face and you give me a little bit of information so I can support you better. Because I'm intuitive like that. The best thing that will work for you, I can tell that to you. But you know, every little story has different nuances. So you do this in a way, like not sharing information with them in a way that you know is the best way. And you don't have to overthink about it. Just start doing it. Because once you start doing it, like creating the clarity and just taking the first steps is the thing. Then it doesn't even like your focus goes onto your path, not onto them. You know, like there might be moments that you fall back and feel all these feelings, but you are so focused on your path because it requires so much energy from you and it adds to your energy. It starts adding to your cup. Your cup starts like flowing and overflowing because you have the infinite resource, right? So there is that blockage is not there. So naturally it just becomes overflowing and you have increasing energy every day because you are not manipulated or sabotaged by them. Sharing information with them and not giving them that power is very important. If you haven't listened, please go back to which one was it? Not the previous episode, but the episode before that. So the second one, the ways in which the narcissistic mother controls, limits, manipulates. Please listen to it if you haven't. So this will all make more sense of why it's so important. So the second thing, of course, very important, connected to this, is non-negotiable. Very healthy and strict boundaries with your mom. Very strict. And to make it to like stick up with your boundaries, to continue with your boundaries, because it's not like a linear journey. Things might happen that trigger you for you to feel guilt, shame, what am I doing? Am I resisting, rejecting my mom? Like all these very natural human emotions may rise. But just putting your hand on your heart, I believe this is very important. Like this works a lot because you remembering you have a good heart and you are not doing it to hurt anyone or anything, but it might hurt some people while you're doing it, but this is non-negotiable now. You have to create the clarity on what you have lost so far, what you went through that was so unnecessary, all that pain, all the resources that just went to waste. Now you're like, I'm not letting that anymore. It's not going to benefit them either. Like, it's not going to benefit them in a soul level. It will only accommodate that dark energy. It will only serve that dark energy if I go back to my old patterns, which are super familiar. So this is, of course, like easy said than done. And this is why I want to like create different spaces for us to work together. Let's see, it's in the works for sure. And you can always DM me if you have any suggestion, like Ruken, if you like create a workshop like this, it would help me a lot. Like only in this subject, I need a lot of support in, or if like, whatever is your best, whatever is your biggest need, please let me know in the DMs on Instagram at Kevela. It's in the show notes, the link to the Instagram. And please let me know so that I know that like the specifically, like sometimes it is just like one like blocking point that we have to like, it's just one thing that really challenges us in the journey. So I would love to know. But the second thing is like very healthy and strict boundaries. So you don't just apply it for a couple of months. Like I was thinking about this today, I think, or yesterday. It's like when you decide that maybe you have to create this healthy boundary with your mom, that you shouldn't talk to them for a while. And if you decide I shouldn't call her for 3 months, and it can be 3 years depending on the story, okay? It's very important that you continue doing, like you truly apply that, because the journey is not linear, and you feeling the challenging emotions doesn't mean that you are making a wrong decision. It's just because what happened is not something that you would prefer, but it was their choice. Like all of it is because of their behavior. It's not because of you. It's not because you're like, how can I say this without cussing, but not because you're highly sensitive or too sensitive or blah, blah, blah. This is all BS, by the way. If they could have the strength that you have, the power that you have, they would never, ever would want to take anything away from you and would try to dim your light or sabotage you or just ask you to play small for them to feel better about themselves. So that's where narcissism is. So if you decide on something, and I believe like if you decide on something and if you start applying all the things we talk about in the podcasts and so much more that you know that is your truth, if you start taking action and creating, you know, your incredible life in a way that you expose yourself to only the wonderful things during your day, and you are doing the things now. You're living life in a different way. Not that because you start seeing success or you're seeing results in 3D right away. You might not. That's not important. Just the way you feel about your life, the feeling of your life is different. That's enough for you to keep moving, because the more barriers that you break, the most glory that you will create in your life, because that's what universe, God asks from you, is to push yourself, is to do the things, not push yourself and expose yourself to narcissism. That's suffering, and that's not the truth. But push yourself to, or not push yourself and fight the narcissist. Okay? I mean, you might need to do a couple of conversations that's up to you. Or you might not at all. Please listen to the past episodes about that. And I would always be happy to create new episodes on that. Always more to talk about on that. But just push yourself, push your brain, like create new pathways in your brain, like proving to yourself that you are better than that you deserve a wonderful life, that you can trust yourself, that you keep your promises to yourself. Okay, I'm not going to make this any longer. Let's continue. And it will all come together, by the way. So the third one is very important, again, all about family relationships, relatives, and even your friendships or anyone. The third one is that don't share with people who could not do it themselves or who could sabotage you. With your intuition, you start trusting your intuition more, and you actually become more intuitive as you do these things because, again, like you are more connected to your body and to yourself, and there is no one sucking energy from you or asking there is no attack on you. So you start becoming like intuition becomes more and more clear because you become your best friend. But don't share these decisions, even the things you went through to create another confirmation for your clarity. Don't share this with other people that would not be able to make the decisions that you're making, or they're not doing it themselves in their own journey. This is very, very important. By experience, I know this. So I'm sharing with you all these things that you will need during the journey. So things like I'm just thinking about all the things that come up during the journey that will be very helpful for you. Super important. I never heard anyone anywhere else, and everything that would have saved me so much energy and time. But I'm grateful for all my journey always. So, and that's why I'm talking about all of this with you here. So not sharing is always something I talk about. But again, in here, you get the picture, like not sharing about these decisions with other people that are not able to do it themselves in the name of love or looking like a good family person or being a good daughter or being a good family guy, whatever. Don't share it with these people. They would rather play small and be a good family person in air quotes and, not self-actualize, not face their own inner child wounds and, not do the challenging things, but just stay surface and just suffer. They would prefer that, but, have a happy face outside. So the fourth thing is something that, we have to do it all our lives, I guess, but it's going to be very important during this time, that when you begin creating the healthy boundary after creating clarity with your mom, is work on your childhood. And knowing that the voice in your head is not yours. All the self-limiting stuff, all the fear, all the pattern, the way you think about yourself or when you want to take action on something, if you have those voices, it's different for everyone. Like, for example, mine was my biggest challenging emotion is frustration. So I get angry. I have lots of fire in my natal chart too. I am just water and fire. So basically I just have one placement of air and one placement in earth. That's it. I'm all mostly fire and then almost as same water. So just emotions and fire. So, just saying that because I think it has an effect on me. My biggest challenge is frustration, but I use that for my benefit because when I create clarity about something, when I see the truth about someone, I am done. Like now, the way I relate to myself, the way that I relate to my body is that no, I'm not even going to explain to you. The person, whoever is doing whatever. I'm not even no. So mine is frustration. And I would say, I would like the voice in my head would be, I think, fear, doubt, confusion, being like all over the place, like, my side, like the wounded child, that would like self-sabotage. And there is other things too, of course, with the self-sabotage, but you might have, the way you talk to yourself might be different. That stops you from taking those actions. So whatever it is, that is not your voice. And I can give you an exercise on a different episode. Maybe I don't want to make this any longer, but just for you to identify whose voice it is and like what happened and all of that. Let me know. Like whenever you hear something from me that I can share, always DM me. Okay. Ruken, just do this episode and I'll do that episode. So work on your childhood. I believe in somatic experiences. Soma means in Greek, body. So anything with the body, not just like talk therapy. I don't believe in talk therapy. I mean, it can be just an accessory in your life, but it's not something that I would go to. It has to work with the body. Meaning also, something that not talks about the experience logically in a mental way, but actually takes you into those experiences, takes you back into those experiences. So you relive it again, just for you to identify what's happening in your body and for you to like apply different things that are important for the transformation, to shedding the emotion, the trauma from the body, for you to be able to show compassion to your inner child, all of that. So I believe in somatic things, somatic therapies, and you can look it up. Things might start coming to you anyways. You might be doing lots of things, but I really truly believe that, I don't know, even like having like a breath work is more valuable than just talk therapy. Just working with the body, because it stays in the body and the body knows, and the body's intelligence is just amazing. And then once we start clearing our lives this way, we have the luxury to have the nuances when we meet someone, to do anything, if we feel good about it or not. And if we again deny that, then, if we are lucky, like universe, God shows us that that's not the right person, whatever stage you are in that journey with the person. And then you understand, like, this is not the right person. I should have trusted my gut. I felt weird and like just weird and strange around them anyways. So I should have said no at the very beginning, but now I'm going to do it. It's not late. Like, I'm going to do it now. It's experience. It's always like more experience, but you start having the luxury of learning about these nuances instead of like being attacked. And then you have this whole, like this shell around you that like doesn't allow you to see things clearly about anything. And it's just like challenging emotions all the time, and you don't make sense of it, like why you're feeling that way and all of that. And it all starts dissipating once you start creating clarity, once you create the clarity, and once you start creating and applying the healthy boundaries, and you expose yourself to greatness, and you start living your life differently with big, courageous boundaries, then life is completely different, and it's never going to be the same again. And I took some notes here. So I wrote, so your mom with the narcissistic tendency was projecting all her insecurities and fears and feelings of unworthiness and to you. So that's like talking about the voice in your head. That's not your voice. That it doesn't come from innately from you. It might come from like past lives and things like that as well, from your ancestors and all of that. I believe in all of this. But first, parents and siblings. Always, always, always. And what's maybe worse was she was never aware of it. What did I say here? Maybe worse, she was never aware of what she was projecting onto you, that she was projecting the insecurities, blah, blah, blah. Her subconscious knows, but consciously she might not know it. But consciously she may know it as well, depending on like what kind of narcissism she has, how deep it is. And so she never repairs it. But this is most probably 100% true that she never repaired all that jazz, like all that stuff that she put onto you, commenting on, like when you wanted to do something, when you said something, when you were about to do something, like you declare it or you just do it. And then she says something. Oh, but like, isn't this going to be like just putting fear on you? You don't remember these consciously, but your body remembers. And once you start doing those therapies, if it's not clear for you, those therapies help a lot for you to understand, wow, like this was a moment that I thought was not even that important. But as a child, a 3-year-old baby, a 3-year-old girl or boy, of course it would affect me so much. Like now I see, and it's not even like you don't even remember all the moments in your somatic experiences. You remember some of them. But they usually happen in narcissism like on a weekly and even daily basis, the things they do and they don't do. So once you understand the main parts, then it just becomes easier, because if you are not exposing yourself to it today, then it's fine. Then healing starts happening faster, because there is no resistance from you of feeling angry to them all the time because they're doing it today and they're stopping you today. So it's just, if you don't let them do those things to you today, they might do things here and there. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the general way you lead your life today. Then it becomes so much easier to heal, and you just start feeling differently anyways about your life, and you start creating a different reality. Like the past has a very big contrast with your today. And you can create that quickly. The 5th thing I want to share with you is, so this voice talks in your head. You haven't taken the action to do this or that, like to begin something or to end something. Today, do the things that you're scared of. Like sometimes even in a bolder way that you may think. You want to do something, do it even bolder, like do it even bigger, so that you're showing your brain that it's possible, that you can do it, that it is possible, that you are safe, like you are still safe, you're still surviving. It's not like life and death situation as if they have created. It's not like that. You are surviving, and you can keep your promises to yourself, and you are so much worthy, like your worthiness, everything starts shifting because it's through the experience. You prove it to yourself, you prove it to your brain, and you maybe most importantly prove it to your inner child that they're safe with you now. And that's all that matters. And in this path, create a circle completely separate from your mom's life. Like most probably new people. Not like people that are good friends with her, like not people that will drag the same kind of subtitle energy of, the stupid stuff about like, don't leave your mom, like blah, 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 like all the stuff that has nothing to do with what you're doing, just to sabotage you again. Like nothing that people can use against you. So creating a new circle, people that you believe in, people you can be authentically yourself fully, And very important, your identity in that circle is not your mom's daughter. Your identity in that circle is not your mom's daughter. It's just one of many identities you have. It's a spectrum, and you're human. So there is a spectrum of identities you have in this like 3D world. It's just one of them. It's not the main, it's not the most important, it's not what you talk about, it's not how you behave, how you show up in the world, it's not how you used to show up in around your family circle. It's completely different. You are yourself, and people see your energy, and your energy starts shifting and changing. And like, I would want you to tell me your inspiring story after that, because it's completely different when it's your story. And you may even like tell a glimpse of your story to these new people, and they will accept it as it is. They won't question it. They will not question it. They will just accept it as it is, and they will be inspired by you because of your truth. But it will be a very different energy, because it will be your energy this time. And the sixth and the final thing I want to share with you today, we're over an hour now. When your narcissistic mom does or says something manipulative, you have to return back to parenting yourself and return to doing the inner child work. I have so many ideas that I want to do, but I think all of these, like most of them, are not possible through the podcast, because I can't just talk to myself and lead you in every practice. I have to be with you in some ways. It has to be deeper than this. So let me know, like, whatever thing that grabs your attention, like, this is what I need. It will help me a lot to serve you better. But inner child work will be important, because once you start parenting yourself, you start showing compassion to yourself, to whatever happened now, and then it will take you to the moments that happened in the past, and then you will start going back into those moments, talking to your inner child, showing compassion to her, listening to her, being there for her, validating her emotions, because your emotions were real. You are real. That makes a baby real. When a baby, maybe she's not able to talk yet, but she does something and the mom rejects her because she feels, she feels hungry and she starts crying, and the mom thinks that she needs to go to bed. So she tries to put her to sleep, or, shuts her down, or says something, or dead face mother, neglects her, whatever. The baby thinks that, oh, okay, so my emotions are not real, so I'm not real. So these people, obviously, then when this person becomes an adult, they don't even, they can't really identify with their body and their needs, because it has been neglected. This is what they learned and what they experienced when they're learning all of this, when their brain is evolving, when they're experiencing life for the first time, they're learning. They're like a sponge. We're psychics until we're 7 years old. And even after that, we're still we haven't, our brain hasn't developed yet fully. So we're still learning. So your emotions are real. Your bodily emotions are real. Your body is the most intelligent thing in the world. Your body is the most intelligent thing. And it might tell you things with, God forbid, with disease, with sickness, and even with emotions in the body, with feelings in the body about why you feel certain something around someone. It's the most intelligent thing in the world. And it carries all the things that you need to know about your past. So creating clarity will eliminate minimizing their behavior. So this is why creating clarity is very important. That's just the last thing I wrote. So this is what I want to share with you today. Of course, there are so many other things. Like I say, You can ask me your question. You can send a part of your story to me and I can do an episode based on your question. We'll leave you confidential. Don't worry about that. We'll give you a nickname. I never share the details of like where you live or whatever, like nothing, like no one can tell who you are. And our stories are so universal. So it would help someone else so much. So depending on the story, I can give you more details on what's best that you apply, that I believe. And my intention is always for you to find your truth. Like whatever I say, you find your truth. You know your truth. You know the best ways. You know what to do today, the best things to do today. And tomorrow you will know what to do as well. You know it deep inside of you. I just want to confirm or remind you of some of the truths here. I love you so much. I'm here for you. I send you so much compassion and love. Just my intention is to support you in your self-actualization journey, and I will see you shine your brightest. I love you so much for all the highly sensitive, highly compassionate, highly empathetic souls. I love you. I'll see you next week. My gorgeous listener, if you had any takeaways from this episode or from this podcast in general, I would love to know. Please share this episode with a few loved ones right now. You never know how they can benefit from something so small. And please take a screenshot of this episode and share on IG, tagging me at Khevella. That is Khewella. Khevella. That is my goddess wear brand, my Instagram page. I would love to know what your takeaway was or something you found inspirational or a confirmation you believe in as well. That would make my day. And you can always DM me if you have a topic or a certain question in mind that you want me to talk about. And give me a 5-star rating if you feel like it. That would help this podcast immensely to get the word out. I love you. See you on the next one. I want to see you shine your brightest.